this one.
Comeback pattern caught. Touchdown, Kansas City.
Now, sports on a Sunday morning on America's Sports Voice, KMOX.
Tom Ackerman with you. Hi, everybody. Producers Drew Young. We are live from the Stiefel Sports Studio. We are on YouTube. Just search for Sports on a Sunday Morning. We're on Twitter, on the KMOX Sports account, on Twitch. We're all over the place. We're live. Hello, everybody. We are video streaming, but we are also on KMOX Radio, and this is the tradition, Sports on a Sunday Morning. Good show lined up today. I'll give you the guests in just a moment. We are headed to San Diego in a matter of moments for live coverage of baseball's winter meetings. They get underway today. It's only 8:06 in San Diego, but we will get right there with Mike Claiborne and Matt Pauley. They are standing by for a live update coming up at 10:15 Central Time, 8:15 on the West Coast. To make sure you tune into that in just about 8 minutes. We also have Travis Ford. That's our other broadcast partner, St. Louis University. He was a winner yesterday, 85-72 over Southern Illinois. The head coach of the Billikens joins us in 23 minutes at 10:30 to talk about his team. Nice win over SIU. The women also won on KMOX last night. Doubleheader, won them both, swept it. Men won the first one, women won the second one over Illinois State, 75-65. Joaquin Buckley, UFC fighter, with us at 10:45. Drew, thanks for setting that up. He is a St. Louis native. Look forward to chatting with him about a sport that really intrigues me and an upcoming fight at T-Mobile Arena for UFC 282. That's this coming Saturday, December 10th. I'm going to be in Las Vegas this weekend, by the way. I might just have to do that. I'm going to go see Indiana play Arizona, so maybe we'll do a little double dip there. Also, we have a great guest in Ron Zetcher. And many of you in our listening audience, and I know longtime listeners of Sports on a Sunday Morning, know who Zetch is. Hall of Famer, St. Louis Sports Hall of Famer, and in various halls of fame for his work as a referee. He was also a youth sports coach, coach at Ladue for a long time. But he has reffed at the highest level. So the Big 8, the Big 10, on and on it goes. He will be in studio with us at 11:05 to tell some stories and also to talk about the profession of officiating, because I do think that it is something that is very much needed from the youth level all the way up. So we'll talk to Zetch about that. I can't wait to hear his stories about Bob Knight. Don't go anywhere, I'm telling you, at 11:05. Then at 11:30, the Blues break down. Blues were awful last night. They lost to Pittsburgh 6-2. They just are a mess right now. They don't look good at all. It's a complete disaster. But the last time we said that, they rattled off 7 wins in a row. They just don't seem like they have any traction right now, and Craig Berube really carved them up. The Chief did in his post-game press conference. You'll hear that coming up at 11:30. We'll also get a preview of the Chiefs and the Bengals. They play this afternoon on KMOX at 3:25. That's at 11:30, plus my 2 picks of the day. And then the St. Louis Rowing Club. I'm telling you, we are all over the map today when it comes to sports, but that is a sport you probably aren't aware of. And that is happening in St. Louis, and they're very good. They travel around the country and compete on behalf of St. Louis. We'll hear about them at 11:45. Starting, though, with college football, and it is pretty clear to me who the top 4 are and will be announced at 11 o'clock. And you Bama fans are crossing their fingers and hoping that they get the invite, but I don't think that's going to happen. And I don't think that it should happen. And I think that Nick Saban, as much as I respect him, and I respect the heck out of him, he's the best to ever do it. The argument that they lost 2 games, but they were close in tough SEC environments, and he doesn't understand why one-loss team should be ahead of him, and he would be favored against those teams in a game is a flimsy argument. I'm sorry. I mean, you lost 2 games that were on your schedule, and by the way, won a couple of games very, very close. They barely snuck by Texas. Bama is really good, don't get me wrong, but it's not like they suddenly have some eye-popping wins this year. I mean, what were Bama's signature wins, to be honest? Be honest. They won at Texas by a point. They beat Utah State and Louisiana Monroe and Vanderbilt. They won at Arkansas, which turned out to be not a great football team. Missouri beat Arkansas too. They beat Texas A&M by 4 at home, by the way, a team that had a losing record this year. I don't care how good they were at the start of the year. They ended up with a losing record, and they barely beat them. They lost to Tennessee on the road. They beat Mississippi State. They lost to LSU by a point. They won at Mississippi by 6. They beat Ole Miss on the road. Probably their best win, honestly. They beat Austin Peay, and they beat a bad Auburn team in the Iron Bowl. I don't see the signature Alabama season. So it's a flimsy argument. I think they're out. I think Ohio State is in. I think if you're a Buckeye fan, you should feel very good about them being 4. I do not think you're going to get a rematch with Michigan at the 2-3 game in the Fiesta Bowl. I think that would be wrong. I don't think Ohio State should jump back into the college football playoff and be 3. I think they should be 4, and I think 3 should stay TCU. You can't hurt TCU by saying they went undefeated in the Big 12 all year long. They go to the Big 12 championship game. They lose by inches to K-State in overtime. K-State's the 10th ranked team in the country. They beat K-State already once this year. It is not like USC, who got scorched in the Pac-12 championship by Utah, a team that they lost to twice. That's pretty clear. They're out. TCU, I don't think you can bounce them out. Could you drop them to 4, perhaps, and put Ohio State all the way to 3? Maybe. But I kind of hope they don't do that. It's a Michigan-Ohio State rematch at 2-3. I'd rather see Georgia 1, Michigan 2, TCU 3, Ohio State 4. I think that's going to how it's going to shake out. And a Georgia-Ohio State game will be great. It'll be at the Peach Bowl in Atlanta. And then the 2-3 game in Arizona, the Fiesta Bowl, would be Michigan-TCU. Be a good game. Michigan will be favored. Probably should win it, but who knows? So that's how I think it's going to play out. We'll see. We'll take a quick time out. When we come back, we'll talk some baseball, winter meetings, San Diego, next on KMOX.
Royal Banks of Missouri is your community bank with locations throughout St. Louis, St. Charles, Northeast Missouri, Granite City, and Jerseyville, Illinois. A bank branch is not far away. Royal Banks brings in experienced staff and products and services designed to meet your professional and personal financial needs. Investing in our communities, one client at a time. Call 314-212-1500 today. Royal Banks of Missouri, member FDIC, and equal opportunity lender. Looking for a new home or to refinance your current mortgage? Royal Banks of Missouri wants to be your home buying partner. With a local staff that will guide you through the process, Royal Banks is an experienced mortgage lender that you can trust. There's still time to lock in on a low rate. Call 314-212-1500 today. Royal Banks of Missouri, where better service means better banking. Member FDIC and equal opportunity lender.
From KMOX Sports, this is a Winter Meetings Report presented by Goodwill. Donate a car for 4 free Cardinals box seats.
Hello, everybody. I'm John Rooney. Do you have an old car that's taking up room in the driveway? Repairs are costly and selling is a hassle? That's why you should donate it to Goodwill. Donating is quick and towing is free. Plus, you get a tax receipt and 4 tickets to a Cardinals game next year, compliments of the St. Louis Cardinals. That's a win-win. For more information or to donate, visit online at mersgoodwill.org. Must mention Cardinals.
Yeah, I was just at a convention with for one of the major manufacturers, and they were showing all the new products, and we were discussing all the new regulations that are starting in January. With that being said, there are new changes coming up next year, but if you want to get ahead of the curve and you think you're going to replace it, but you don't want to replace the system now, here's what I'm willing to do. I can buy all the equipment if you want to buy it now and put it in at a later date. I have a feeling it's going to save you 20%, 30%, which is huge on a furnace and air conditioner. If your system is 15, 20 years or older and you know you're going to do it, probably not time to be putting it off. I mean, we have 0% financing for up to 60 months if you qualify. I can help you out. Call me, Bart Inman, one easy number in Missouri and Illinois, 314-293-2600. Just this one name, Bart Inman. That's Bart with a B, Inman with an I. KMOX.com.
Throughout the 60s and 70s, cops hunted down key figures of the Dixie Mafia, including its enigmatic ringleader, Kirksey Nix.
I'm interested in making money. I'm not interested in hurting people.
15 years into Kirksey's life sentence, the Dixie Mafia was practically folklore, but that would soon change. I'm Jed Lipinski. This is Gone South, a documentary podcast from C13 Originals, a Cadence 13 studio. Season 2, The Dixie Mafia. Available now on the Odyssey app or wherever you get your podcasts.
Ophthalmology Associates, the offices of Dr. Greg Birdie and Ranjan Malhotra, are the doctor's doctors and St. Louis's premier LASIK providers. Hi, this is Rick Wallace. About 17 years ago, I turned my eye care over to Ophthalmology Associates and have never given a thought to going anywhere else. Dr. Greg Birdie has guided me through LASIK surgery, cataract surgery, treatment of dry eyes. He cares about me and my eyesight and is looking out for my best interest. He's not only my doctor, he's my friend. Dr. Birdie and Dr. Malhotra are corneal surgeons and attending physicians at Washington University. They're joined by Dr. Robert Brusati and Dr. Andrew Royer to provide you the best eye care in St. Louis. To get the best eye care, call the doctors today, 314-966-5000, or go to youridoc.com. Always on the leading edge of the absolute latest technology, that's Ophthalmology Associates, 12990 Manchester Road, half mile west of 270, 314-966-5000, or youridoc.com.
It's on Goddard.
Big fly, Nolan Arenado.
Driving jam time. The Pelicans win this one. Touchdown, Kansas City.
Welcome back to Sports on a Sunday morning on America's Sports Voice, KMOX.
We are back. It's 10:17 on the home of the Cardinals, KMOX, coming to you from the Stifel Sports Studio. Tom Ackerman with you. Sports on a Sunday morning. Very pleased to open up our winter meetings coverage. Let's go live to San Diego and first say hello to Cardinals broadcaster Mike Claiborne, who is back at the winter meetings. How are you, my friend?
I am good, Tom, and it's good to be back. It's been a couple of years since we've had winter meetings, and I believe the last one we had was here in San Diego, so I'm looking forward to it.
Absolutely. Great to hear your voice and get back on Cardinals coverage. You know, we talk about the offseason. This is when the hot stove league begins. Now the coals are on the fire, and we start figuring out what the Cardinals are going to do. And with that, we bring in KMOX's Matt Pauley, the host of Sports Open Line and our network pregame and postgame host. How are you, Matt?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing great. How about the fact that we have your freshman football coach, Ron Zetcher, coming up next hour?
Yeah, looking forward to that. Zetch was, he's a longtime college basketball official. But it was, when I saw that this morning, I got a kick out of that because, he was my freshman football coach many, many, many years ago.
Now, I know Claibs knows him well and knows there's some big stories coming in the 11 o'clock hour if you got Zetch on the air.
Oh, man, good. I'm thinking about the days when he worked locally, and he's seen a lot, trust me. So I'm anxious to hear some of the stories he can tell you on the air.
Well, that's exactly right. When we turn the mics off and we're streaming live on YouTube right now, maybe we should open up those mics and see what comes out of that. Claibs, I want to start with you here because I know Zetch is listening right now and wants to know, just like everybody else, what the Cardinals are going to do. While we can't answer that question, we do have a bit of a framework of what their needs are. So let's start there.
Yeah, Tom, that's a good point. Sometimes you come out and look to kick the tires on situations, but you know what you need. You've made it clear that you want a frontline catcher. You would like to have more pitching, especially on the front end of the rotation. And I think at that point, you want to kind of shore up some areas and make some decisions on some people who you think can really be part of your ball club for next year. I think the outfield is still kind of up in the air, with O'Neill's situation injury-wise. Dylan Carlson didn't have the sort of season that I know he wanted to have. And so you got to make some decisions on, was this just something that was an off year, or do you look to enhance that? Not to mention that you have Jordan Walker, who's knocking at the door. I mean, he played well in the Arizona Fall League. He's played well just about everywhere. And you're going to give him a longer look in spring training. So those are some of the things. But, Tom, I'll tell you one of the other things that I would like to see is shoring up the bullpen a little bit more experience, a little bit more veteran leadership, and maybe another guy perhaps too that can close, that has closing experience. The way the game is being played today, that one closer doesn't do it anymore. I think you have to have at least two guys, because the way you use closers, you can't run a guy out there every night and expect him to have anything come August.
Yeah, that's a great point. And Matt, John Mozeliak, the president of baseball operations, who is in San Diego, won't be joining us on the show today. He's quite busy, but he has said it on this show and on KMOX over and over again since Yadier Molina officially signed those papers. Their number one target is a catcher, and Matt, it's the first time in years that they've had to think about a starting catcher. Where do you think they're going right now?
Well, yeah, I mean, you think about the history of this organization. Essentially, over the last 30 years, they've had three catchers in Pagnazzi, Matheny, and Molina. I know there were a couple years in there with Marrero and Lampkin and DeFelice and those guys, but for the most part, it's been three catchers over the last 30 years. So this is an area that they have not had to go very often. What's interesting to me is, does it end up being a free agent signing or does it end up being a trade? Because when you talk about the free agents out there, you talk about Wilson Contreras, you talk about Christian Vasquez, but then from a trade standpoint, maybe you do talk to Toronto and it ends up being Jansen. He seems to be the guy that Cardinals fans are least enthused about. And then Murphy with Oakland, that's the guy who, if I could just pick any possible available catcher and just pluck him onto the Cardinals, that would be the guy. He's a good defensive catcher. He's a good offensive catcher. He seems to fit the Cardinals and what they want probably more than anybody else that's potentially out there. But the Cardinals are not the only suitor for him. There's a lot of interest. He's a very, very good player. So that's the game they play, right, Tom? Where there's multiple teams interested in a single player, and you want to go get them, but you also want to make sure that you don't give up too much.
Claves, the Cardinals, as you illustrated perfectly, have several needs, and the conventional wisdom is the team is going to spread the wealth to address all of those. There is a criticism, though, towards this team, ownership, John Mozeliak, et cetera, that the team does not make big splashes and doesn't go after big names. I would contend that they do. They have now they don't always work out, but I mean, John Mozeliak has made a habit of chasing big names. Matt Holliday, Dexter Fowler. Again, some of these didn't work out. Jason Hayward. You can't say that they didn't go after Carlos Beltran, Marcelo Zuna. Heck, Giancarlo Stanton, another outfielder who didn't work out because he didn't want to waive his no-trade clause. Not like they didn't go after him. Arenado and Goldschmidt. So I think that's a bit false that the Cardinals don't try to make big splashes, and on occasions they have.
I agree with you. When you think about the free agent signings, they probably haven't panned out as well as you'd hope for to. You mentioned Beltran and Berkman and people like that. But the recent free agent signings haven't really bear the fruit that you'd hope for. They've been very good at trades. I mean, when you think about Arenado and Goldschmidt and how you got those guys, and I'm looking now at the Goldschmidt trade, and there's a couple of guys on that team in Arizona that didn't even get offered contracts. It's not that you're trying to fleece anybody, but I really feel like they show the versatility of being able to acquire players. But I would agree, when it comes to spending money, they spent it when they needed to. And if you don't think so, look at what you're paying the first baseman and the third baseman right now. I mean, they have payroll flexibility. There's no doubt about it. And they even have more. But, Tom, I'm on the old school. Just because you're a free agent doesn't make you an all-star. You got to be careful.
I totally hear that. Matt, how do you see it playing out payroll-wise? I mean, just like all of us, I'm sure you look at the numbers and try to figure out what they're going to do.
Yeah, I think it's going to go. So the thing is, a lot of people have tried to figure out when Mozeliak said that they're going to increase payroll. So what does that really mean? Because there's arbitration eligible guys. There's guys whose contracts just have their salaries going up. So there's almost no way to go into this offseason where payroll wasn't going to go up. But I don't think your president of baseball operations goes on record and has talked so openly about the fact that payroll is going to go up, and then payroll only goes up to account for those things that have to go up anyway. So for me, I do expect that it's going to be a significant increase in payroll where you can bring in a couple legitimate guys. And I feel like the lineup still needs two bats. Like whether one of those bats comes from the catcher spot, which it probably will, they still need somebody beyond that, and it's not going to be cheap. So if they're able to pull that off, there's no way to go about this without a significant increase in payroll.
It'll be interesting. Going back to pitching, Claves, the need for starting pitching, how dire is that, especially when you consider the depth issues that they've had? Do they chase starting pitching?
I think you should. When you look at the postseason, and every good team has at least two, if not three, legitimate first-line, front-line starters. I think you have to have it. And while we hope Jack Flaherty is going to be effective, we saw what Miles Michaelis could do. Jordan Montgomery was terrific in his outings with the Cardinals. You'd like to have just one more bullet because, what if you don't sign Quintana? What if Dakota Hudson is not part of this team? You have some other young players that might be on the cusp, but we're talking about trying to win now. And that's a big difference. If you want to wait on some kids, that's fine. But if you, in the process, you're not helping the current ball club. And I think that's what we're looking for now. Going through the one and done process of postseason has worn thin on some. And I'm sure that John Mozeliak and his team would prefer to play on beyond. So I think that if you get a guy that's a shutdown guy and you go into a series and say, holy cow, we got this guy, Flaherty and Michaelis, and you got a left-hander in Montgomery, and think about how these schedules are going to be this year. You're going to see some teams are going to see 4 of your guys in a series. So there's a lot of things that go into making sure that you are bolstered up front because you don't want to have just a bunch of 5 and fly guys. You have to have some people who can get deeper in the games because you're going to have to show up the bullpen also.
What do you see? Final thing for you, Matt, just in terms of personnel, some needs on your end. I asked you specifically about catcher and then a payroll question, but just your thoughts on other positions. You go along with Claibs on some of those?
Yeah, absolutely. I think a high-end starting pitcher, and to echo what Claib's already said, you look at the guys who are starting in the postseason for teams that were having success in the National League. And with all due respect to Jose Quintana, who was a Game 1 starter for the Cardinals, Quintana is not a Game 1 starter for those teams that made their run in the National League. So a high-end starter, and I still think the outfield is a really good place where you can go out and improve. I think one of the big questions, though, and this is generally you think about roster depth as being a good thing. I look at this Cardinals team and you look at all the starters they have and you look at all the outfielders they have. You don't want those guys to just walk away for nothing. So one area where I think you have to kind of navigate through if you're John Mozeliak, if you want to upgrade those positions, you have to deal with your roster depth there because you got to take some guys off the 40-man roster. So maybe that means you're trading away some guys off of the major league roster, which sometimes isn't as easy to do. If you're dealing with an Oakland might not be real interested in guys who are on your major league roster. So that's just another part of navigating through this offseason when you have as much major league depth as the Cardinals have.
Give us
Tom,
yeah, go ahead, Clips.
I was just going to say there's a couple of other question marks here. We've gone, 15 minutes now and have not mentioned what the shortstop situation is going to look like. Paul DeJong is still on this roster. And do you think if a change in scenery from a hitting coach standpoint could help his career, do you give him time to see what he does in spring training? Or do you just put him in a package and move him on as the winter meetings proceed?
Yeah, it's really interesting. I think that it's definitely worth watching to see how that pans out. Claib's just final thing for you. Give us a reminder of how winter meetings work and what you expect to see. It's just a big baseball convention, among other things.
Yeah, it is. And it is winter meetings where most departments of every major league team are represented. They have their breakout meetings to discuss things internally with regard to what their roles are. There'll be a lot of handshaking in the lobby. A lot of guys will be the thing you hear most is what are you hearing? Because everybody's running with rumors right now. There's a handful of people who actually know what's going on. And it's one of those situations where you just have to pay attention to what's going on. Scott Boras will make his appearance and hold court in front of about 50 or 60 writers and reporters. And then we'll have a chance to visit every day with John Mozeliak in his suite and just kind of run through what took place that day and maybe giving us some thoughts on what he sees down the road. So what I'd say to everyone, while it would be nice that we get a deal done while we're here, they normally don't happen in that manner. Now, the urgency may be greater now because you're seeing teams we haven't seen participate in free agency in a long, long time. So maybe with some new teams and some new dance partners and more players that are interested in going to those places, you may see some urgency. But normally you'll try and lay out the foundation, and then you move on. And first, let's face it, the free agents you probably have already talked to. Okay, you probably already had a conversation or a visit with them. The guys you want to trade for, you obviously couldn't do that. So it'll give you a chance to really kind of kick the tires and see what your intel tells you on what their value could actually be to you and what teams are interested in your personnel.
This report from the winter meetings presented by Goodwill. Donate a car for 4 free Cardinals box seats. Matt Pauley, before we go, what's your programming looking like this week, including countdown to opening day?
Yeah, we'll have that. Claibs and I will be together on a Wednesday from 6 o'clock to 8 o'clock. We have just a 1-hour sports open line on Monday, and then on Tuesday, no sports open line due to SLU basketball. But I'll be popping up on the station all the time over the next few days with scheduled appearances. And then if there's any breaking news, we'll be ready to hop on right away. So folks are going to hear a whole lot of us from San Diego through the end of the winter meetings.
Gentlemen, thank you for the extended visit. Great to have you both on KMOX's Sports on a Sunday Morning. We'll catch up with you all week.
All right, Tom. Have a great week.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Cardinals broadcaster Mike Claiborne, KMOX's Matt Pauley, right here live from San Diego. This is the place to stay tuned to baseball's winter meetings. They get underway today. Everything Cardinals right here on KMOX. We're also the home of the Billikens. Travis Ford joins us right after the break from the Stiefel Sports Studio.
So delicious in every bite. Dad's cookies, they taste so right.
Dad's cookies go mighty fast this time of year, so stock up next time you're shopping. And for an easy and unique gift for out-of-town family and friends, give them the sweet taste of a St. Louis tradition by ordering at dadscookies.com.
The taste made just for you.
And in stores everywhere.
Dad's Cookies.
dadscookies.com.
Hey, here's a holiday gift from Bed Bath & Beyond. Now through December 11th, get 25% off one item by texting GIFT to 239663. That's 239663. New offers every day at Bed Bath & Beyond. Exclusions apply. See website for details.
KMOX Weekend at your service, sponsored by Air Comfort Service Heating and Cooling.
Hi, Carol Daniel here. My wish for you this holiday season is time with your loved ones and a life filled with joy and peace. From my family to yours, Merry Christmas.
Happy holidays from KMOX.
When you need an electrician in a residential situation, commercial, industrial, rely on Reinhold. Reinhold Electric has been around for years, and on behalf of their entire staff and the Reinhold family, we want to wish you happy holidays and happy new year. Need a charging station for your new electric vehicle or an inline generator? Rely on Reinhold. Keep their number handy. If you need them in the future, call 314-631-1158. Online, you'll find them at ReinholdElectric.com.
My best friend Jimmy came over for coffee. Said it's cold enough in here to play hockey. Well, my furnace broke and it's already late. Call Jerry Kelly because they're open till 8. JerryKelly.com. They'll be here quick and have you feeling good. JerryKelly.com. Cause your furnace will be running like it should. They're certified technicians, I've been told. Will help you when it's hot and help you when it's cold. JerryKelly.com. They're fast and they're good and they got it going on. JerryKelly.com.
It's on Gunner. Big fly, Nolan Arenado.
Driving jam time. The Billikens win this one.
Touchdown, Kansas City.
Welcome back to Sports on a Sunday Morning on America's Sports Voice, KMOX.
We're back on Sports on a Sunday Morning. Our talk with Billikens head coach Travis Ford is sponsored by Royal Banks of Missouri. Here's the call from last night.
Yuri waiting for Fred Thatch. Wants to drive the mask. 2 on the shot clock. Fadeaway 3. No good. Rebound to Coral. He goes up. Yes! Yes! Foul. Count the basket. Yes! That is a big-time dunk.
There you go.
Wow.
On his head. Been waiting for that all season, Weber.
Wow, a ferocious two-hand. Straight up with the jam.
Bob Ramsey, Earl Austin Jr. with the call. Earl loved that, Coach Travis Ford, and I know you were feeling the same as Francis Okoro throws it down.
Yeah, no doubt. It was a good game for us yesterday. Appreciate you having me on, first of all. And it was a good game against a really good Southern Illinois team that come in with some big wins at Oklahoma State and just beat Evansville 2 nights before by 35, I think. So, really good game. Thought, Francis had some good moments, as we heard right there. It's always fun to hear Rammer and Earl get excited. That's always a lot of fun.
Yeah, it is. And they did have some fun in an 85-72 win for your team over, as you mentioned, a very good Southern Illinois team that tried to keep it close, and eventually you pulled away, and that dunk was part of it. Just a big, strong team with Okoro and Pickett and Thatch and you name them, Forrester. This is a team that has some power. And yesterday you were able to not only do that inside, but you were able to hit some shots from the outside. It was really a nice, complete win for you.
Well, I think it was, you look at both teams of lately, no question, Southern Illinois had been winning with defense. Their defensive numbers were just incredible. Some of the best defensive numbers I've seen. And then our defense has actually been doing really well, outdoing our offense. So you would have thought going in, it would just have been a grinded out game, probably scoring in the 50s, maybe the 60s. Well, the next thing you know, the whole first half, neither team could miss. I think it's like 45. We had 45 points at halftime. They had 35. And both teams' offenses were really playing well. I thought our offensive efficiency for us was probably about as good as it's been for the first 30 minutes of the game. Really were executing, looking at all of our options. Every player on the team was touching the ball. So I was really happy with our offense. But overall, they made, I think, 7 threes or something in the first half on us to keep it close. But overall, I thought it was one of our better performances for 40 minutes.
Yeah, I don't think there's a doubt. And speaking of minutes, Yuri Collins plays 38 of those 40. He dishes out 14 assists, a double-double for him. He continues to put up these double-digit assist performances and puts together another double-double. For Yuri Collins right now, I mean, it is remarkable what he's doing. He had 13 points, 14 assists. He now has 5 double-digit assist games this season, third in the last 4 contests, Coach, including a 20-assist performance. He is dishing out some dimes.
Yeah, no question. It's something, obviously, he led the country in assists last year, and he's just a special passer. He has an incredible feel for the game, and, he makes on-time, on-target passes. Some passes is just, they're those wow factor. You just don't see it coming. And, the fun thing to watch is, the players that are around. We all know assists. It takes 2 people. Yuri's going to find guys. He's incredible at it. But then he's going to have somebody make the shot, make the cut, make a screen, whatever it may be. So, it's a 2-way street. And these players around him, Gibson Jimerson, Javon Pickett, Fred Thatch, Javonte, UTJ, they're now really, running the court harder than they've ever had because they know they might get it. They're cutting in the half court better than they ever have because they know they're going to get it. Guys are screening because they know they're going to get hit on time. So as much as we obviously put into Yuri's assist, and we should because it is incredible, I'm really impressed with these other guys as well on how hard they're cutting and moving without the ball and finishing shots to be able to get those 20 assists and 14 assists. So it's a 2-way street.
Absolutely. And that offensive efficiency was on display as your team shot just a touch under 58% yesterday against Southern Illinois, winning at 85-72. Can't ignore the fact that Javonte Perkins was on the bench for a good portion of that. I noticed that after he had committed that third foul, an offensive foul, he did sit out for a while, and you rode Jimerson and Thatch and Pickett.
Yeah, it was more of that than anything. Obviously he did get in foul trouble. I think he had 3 offensive fouls yesterday. We put Fred Thatch in, and Fred really played well yesterday. And, sometimes it's just, it's not necessarily the guy on the bench. It's what the guy in the game is doing. And you got to stick with that. Under the 10-minute mark of the second half, it became a really grinded out game. It became a defensive game, a physical game. I thought Fred did a good job of helping us in that manner. Javonte obviously is going to have his moments as he continues to get healthy, as he continues to get back into stride and things like that. But it was more of just, needing Fred Thatch out there for the physical play.
Next up for you, Rick Pitino and Iona. I sat behind Coach Pitino in the last game and was thoroughly entertained. And I don't mean that flippantly. I mean, I just, as somebody who admires basketball, watching him at work was really something special. Wasn't the first game that I've attended that he's coached, but to be that close and to hear him directing his team was really something. I know that the two of you have a great history, and it's neat to see you two hooking up.
Yeah, it was one of those games last year that we put together at the very last minute because we both had COVID cancellations. And, he was kind enough to come here last year, probably less than 48 hours. We put the game together. And you saw an incredible game. It came down to a last-second tip-in by Fred Thatch. We're down 1, and he tips the ball in underneath the basket for us to win the game. An incredible grinded-out game, low-scoring game. Probably one of the more physical games we played in all year long last year. But you're right, Coach Pitino, somebody obviously who I played for, I learned under, somebody who has been a mentor to me, somebody who I think is one of the great all-time college basketball coaches. I think his record proves that everywhere he's been. He's taken Iona team and really kind of rebuilt that. They've had great seasons, no doubt about it, but they've been down for a year or so, and he came in and took them to the NCAA tournament the very first year he's there. And no different with this team he's got now. Very talented team. He's added some transfers. They're a big team, a really big team. And, he's the best at preparation I've ever been around. His teams are going to play hard and physical, and they're going to press you for 40 minutes with nonstop 40 minutes, pressing, trapping. So we're going to have to be prepared.
Nobody knows that as well as Travis Ford, the former University of Kentucky star, and with Rick Pitino at the helm now at Iona. That game is Tuesday night at 6:00 here on KMOX, and then on Wednesday night you'll be on KMOX again because we're carrying the Jack Buck Awards. You'll be presenting the Carl O. Bauer Award to Yuri Collins. And then back-to-back Saturday nights at home. In fact, 3 straight non-conference home games, December 10th, 17th, and 21st against Boise State, Drake, and a fun local one against SIUE. So you'll be busy before Christmas, and then the A-10 season starts, Coach.
Yeah, you just mentioned our schedule, and these are some of the hottest teams in America right now. From Iona, who's, won their last game. They play again today. Boise State drilled at Texas A&M last night at Texas A&M, beat them bad. They've won a bunch of big games. I think they've got 3 Power 5 conference wins already. Boise State, Drake is like 9-1 and one of the oldest teams, I think maybe the oldest team in America, and led by maybe a lottery pick. So we got some big time games. SIUE is also a 7-8-1 start, whatever. They're off to an incredible start. He's doing a great job over there. So, yeah, our schedule is about as brutal as there is in the country. Last time I saw it, it was like ranked 18th in the country. So we're going to have to be ready and, keep our guys mentally and physically sharp because it is every time you turn around, you're prepared for, it seems like, just a bigger game every day.
Hear that. Also, tough schedule for Rebecca Tillett, and she pulls off a nice victory last night at home against Illinois State, 75-65. Had fun calling that one, so congrats to both coaches, Ford and Tillett. A sweep for SLU at Chaffetz Arena, and our talk with Billikens head coach Travis Ford, sponsored by Royal Banks of Missouri. Always a pleasure to chat with you, talk some hoops. Good luck, safe travels to New York.
I appreciate it so much. Always enjoy it. Thanks a lot.
The same. Great to visit with Travis Ford. Billikens win at 85-72 over Southern Illinois. This Saturday, UFC, T-Mobile Arena, UFC 282, and a St. Louisan, Joaquin Buckley, will be in a middleweight bout. We are going to talk to him live next on KMOX Sports on a Sunday morning. It's 10:44.
Be a part of St. Louis's newest holiday tradition at the Red. Journey into the magical wonderland of the timeless classic, A Christmas Carol. Performances November 18th through December 30th. Tickets on sale at repstl.org.
Hello, everybody. I'm John Rooney. Do you have an old car that's taking up room in the driveway? Repairs are costly and selling is a hassle? That's why you should donate it to Goodwill. Donating is quick and towing is free. Plus, you get a tax receipt and 4 tickets to a Cardinals game next year, compliments of the St. Louis Cardinals. That's a win-win. For more information or to donate, visit online at mersgoodwill.org. Must mention Cardinals.
Ah, the sweet sounds of a quiet garage door. Never heard it? Schedule your garage door tune-up with Overhead Door of St. Louis. It's only $89.95 for the 26-point safety inspection and tune-up. That's one price for up to 3 garage doors and openers. Add nylon rollers for a smooth, more quiet operation. The Overhead Door brand is trusted by homeowners in St. Louis since 1926. Schedule your garage door tune-up online at overheaddoorstlouis.com or call 314-781-5200.
Winter Wonderland, presented by Byerly RV at Tillis Park, is open now through December 30th. Enjoy more than 1 million dazzling lights with holiday characters and festive scenes while listening to your favorite Christmas songs. You'll never see anything like Winter Wonderland at Tillis Park. More details at KMOX.com. And happy holidays from Washington University Orthopedics, Neighbors Credit Union, Kirkwood Fence, Design Air Heating and Cooling, and Telly Tire and Auto Centers. Driven by the Bommarito Automotive Group, the voice of St. Louis, KMOX.
It's on Goddard. Big fly, Nolan Arenado.
Driving jam time. And the Billikens win this one. Touchdown, Kansas City.
Welcome back to Sports on a Sunday morning on America's Sports Voice, KMOX.
Welcome back, Sports on a Sunday morning on KMOX. Tom Ackerman with you. Very pleased to be joined by a fellow St. Louisan, Joaquin Buckley, who's going to be fighting a middleweight bout, UFC, this Saturday, December 10th, against Chris Curtis at T-Mobile Arena, UFC 282. And what a pleasure to be joined by Joaquin Buckley. How are you?
How you doing, sir? How you doing, man?
I'm doing great. I'm excited to see this. Now, here's the thing. I was just telling our dear friend Drew Young, our producer who set this up, that I am going to be in Vegas that weekend. I'm going to see Indiana play Arizona. So
okay,
I don't know.
Nice,
Maybe I might have to make this a doubleheader. Maybe I do that.
You definitely have to drop by and watch me fight. Because I don't think you want to miss out on this historic fight that I plan on putting on.
I don't want to miss it. I'm gonna have to make plans. I'm gonna have to change some stuff up. I've got dinner that night, but I got to find out what time. That's for sure, and make sure I know exactly when you're fighting. Now, here's the other thing: is I have not been to a UFC event. I've watched them on TV. I've watched them on pay-per-view. I've tried from the very beginning to understand it better and get into it, and I can see why it's so entertaining. Why, from your perspective?
Well, my thing is, even watching it on TV and seeing the highlights, it's nothing like watching an actual UFC event live. And the reason why I say that is because it's so much emotion behind every fight. It's so much, I wouldn't even say drama, but just so much electricity, around the fans and everybody just being so, wild up about the fight. And I believe if you went for the first time live, that you would get addicted, that you would be obsessed with going to every UFC event, because every UFC event that they have is sold out, and it's for a reason, because people love it,
Crazy amounts of energy, no doubt. How did you get into it, Joaquin?
How did I get into it, man? That's a long story, but I started back when I was 18 years old. I was just always passionate about mixed martial arts, and some of my favorite fighters like George St. Jackson, Rashad Evans, those are the guys that I looked up to, and I was like, man, I really want to do that. I really want to be that. So, when I turned 18 and I was old enough, I just, looked up a gym, and I went to the first MMA gym I found, and, I never looked back since.
You are considered, you mentioned a fighter, you are a mixed martial artist. Wouldn't that be appropriate to say that's what you are?
Yeah. Yes, sir. Mixed martial artist, yep.
And you mentioned at the age of 18, you're now 28, so 10 years at it. What have you learned over that time about yourself?
Well, I mean, about myself, that I am a fighter, that I am a martial artist, that I'm in the right field. But just over time, I just learned that, this game is, very difficult to maneuver. With just trying to be a talent, you also got to learn the business. So one thing is I'm trying to separate myself as just being a talent and trying to be a businessman when it comes to, negotiating my contract and putting myself in a position to really headline some of these cards. You know.
You are a middleweight, 5'8", 185 pounds at last check for me on your numbers. You're taking on Chris Curtis. The two of you, I understand, have agreed to stand up and box during this fight. Now, could that morph into something else, or how does that work?
It can always morph into something else. But me and CC didn't make an agreement just to box. You know, we definitely made the agreement to go out there and put on a great show. Okay. You know, and that's exactly what I plan on doing. Is I really want to pull out something that people have never seen before, like I've done before, and just really go out there and put on a historic fight for the fans. You know.
Yeah, go ahead.
Say again? Yeah, just put on a historic fight. You know, for the fans that they'll never forget. That's my plan. That's my game plan.
Right, and we don't want to reveal the game plan in case this gets out there and Chris Curtis can listen to your plans. Like, how do you prepare for each different opponent? Is it different? How are these training camps for you different?
Well, you just got to train up to the style of fighter that you are going up against. So if I'm going up against a wrestler, I will grapple heavy for my training. If I'm going up against strikers, I will strike heavy for, you know, the game plan, just to make sure that my defense is well tight and niche, and that my footwork is up to par. So, you know, the styles make fights in mixed martial arts. So that's the biggest thing. You just have to train for the fighter that you're fighting for. And no matter who you're fighting, you know, you just have to look at the holes that they have and be able to try to expose that in the fight.
And I mentioned the height and weight. Was I accurate on that? 5'8", 185. And what do you do to keep that weight? How do you cut weight?
You know, I'm 5'10" on a good day.
Okay.
You know? But yeah, 185 is the weight class I'm in right now. But I plan on moving down to 170 after this fight. I'm a welterweight fighter naturally. The only reason why I moved to 185 was for opportunities to fight in the UFC. But now that I showed the UFC exactly what I'm made of and that I'm able to compete at 185, now I'm looking to destroy a lot of guys at 170, you know.
Yeah, I understand that. So you also sound great on the radio. I have to say that you have this media skill figured out to this point. I mean, is that something that you enjoy? Do you like doing these interviews? And you've gotten, you know, as far as doing a podcast with Joe Rogan. I mean, that's pretty big.
Yeah, man, I love it. To be honest with you, I love to be able just to talk about my craft and talk about mixed martial arts, because I feel like a lot of people do not understand this sport yet, and we're still in a developmental stage and growing because we're such a young sport. So if I'm able to just, you know, tell people about, you know, about my sport and where I come from and my background, I can educate a lot of people on this game. So I definitely do enjoy the media part. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I think it's important for the athletes, the trainers to talk about the sport, but it's also important for the fans who understand it to be able to explain it to others. Look, those of us that I'm 47 years old, so I grew up on, you know, Mike Tyson and Evander Holyfield and boxing and, you know, going back to Sugar Ray Leonard and Marvin Hagler. And that's what I knew.
I like
That's
okay. Yes,
so that's
sir.
what I grew up with. So that's my base, and it's hard sometimes. I think. I mean, I know it's a young audience, but have you seen people my age or older be converted and understand the beauty of it?
Well, I believe I have done that myself. You know, I have converted people over to watch mixed martial arts when I explain, you know, a lot of fighters that come from either a boxing background or a kickboxing background or a wrestling background, and I get them to transition over to like MMA, because you get all facets of all different martial arts. So you get to see boxing, you get to see wrestling, you get to see jiu-jitsu and all these different things. And you get to see a different element of a different style of fighting. And be honest with you, it's very exciting, because usually when you're watching boxing, you know exactly who's going to win. You know, sometimes, not all the time, but the majority of the time when you watch a box, know exactly who's going to win the fight. But in MMA, it doesn't work that way, because there's so many different tools and so many different skill sets that you can use in order to win a fight that can cause the underdog to be the winner, you know. And that's what I love about mixed martial arts. It's very unpredictable. You can never know what's going to happen in a mixed martial arts fight, because there's so many things that can happen. That makes sense?
Yeah.
So that's why the thrill of watching a fight is so fun, because you just don't know what to expect.
I think that's a great point that you just made. I think that's a really good way to look at it, is the unpredictability of it, the excitement of it. The best thing about sports is walking into a venue and not knowing what's about to happen. I always say one of my favorite parts of sports, and it goes for any sport just about, is the moment before the competition begins. That's when nobody knows what's about to happen until that bell rings, or that first ball is kicked in the air, or the basketball is tipped in the air, or the first tee shot off number one. You just don't know,
You just don't know.
I love that.
Man, and I love it.
You're
So
taking
I
up.
hope you definitely come out December 10th and definitely check me out and fight. That ticket is definitely be worth it.
Well, I am going to be in Vegas, so I think that this needs to happen. I will track you down. We'll figure it out. It is December 10th, T-Mobile Arena, Las Vegas, UFC 282. This is Joaquin Buckley, St. Louisan, taking on Chris Curtis. It's going to be awesome.
Yes, sir. Appreciate it, man. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the time and the visit on KMOX. It's sports on a Sunday morning. Love that. Thank you, Drew Young, our producer, for setting that up. Coming up next hour, he is waiting outside, and that is Hall of Fame basketball referee Ron Zetcher. He is in studio, and are we going to have some fun talking? I've known Zetch my entire life. He and my dad were great friends. He's known me since I was born. So we're talking about great friends, going to talk some hoops, and he knows all the legends and has some great stories, including Bob Knight took a great liking to Ron Zetcher, the referee. That is a rare story right there. That's next on Sports on a Sunday Morning on KMOX, plus the very latest on the college football playoff rankings coming out in a matter of minutes.
Royal Banks of Missouri is your community bank with locations throughout St. Louis, St. Charles, Northeast Missouri, Granite City, and Jerseyville, Illinois. A bank branch is not far away. Royal Banks brings in experienced staff and products and services designed to meet your professional and personal financial needs. Investing in our communities, one client at a time. Call 314-212-1500 today. Royal Banks of Missouri, member FDIC, and equal opportunity lender. Looking for a new home or to refinance your current mortgage? Royal Banks of Missouri wants to be your home buying partner. With a local staff that will guide you through the process, Royal Banks is an experienced mortgage lender that you can trust. There's still time to lock in on a low rate. Call 314-212-1500 today. Royal Banks of Missouri, where better service means better banking. Member FDIC and equal opportunity lender.
This is CBS News business analyst Jill Schlesinger. Getting good value for your hard-earned money is more important than ever. When you have aches and pains, good value means getting relief that lasts, like the relief you'll enjoy from Salonpause pain-relieving patches. People that use Salonpause reported less pain with improvement in mood, sleep, and the ability to work. Life is better without pain. You can live better. Salonpause. It's good medicine.
Hey, listener. Welcome to Limu's Karaoke Lounge, where Liberty Mutual customizes your car insurance so you only pay for what you need, and the music never stops. Hit it.
There's an emu with a full-time job. His partner's Doug, but Limu's the heartthrob. Grubs and worms, that's what Limu eats. Gotta fuel up to save you money and hit the streets.
Only pay for what you need at libertymutual.com.
Liberty, 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 liberty.
The 26 Cardinals Care Winter Warm-Up, coming to Busch Stadium and Ballpark Village, January 14th through the 16th. Admission tickets include access to presentations, exhibitor hall, family-friendly activities, the Cardinals Care Store, and more. New for 2023. Admission tickets include access to the Cardinals Hall of Fame and Museum and an exclusive tour of the Cardinals Clubhouse. Learn more about Winter Warm-Up at cardinals.com/WWU.
Cardinals baseball continues at spring training, and you can be one of the first fans to catch the team in 2023. Cardinals Vacations makes it easy to get to warm, sunny Florida by being your one-stop shop for spring training travel. You'll receive hotel accommodations, great game tickets, an exclusive dinner with Cardinals personnel, and much more. Make your plans today. Call Cardinals Vacations at 800-892-7687 or online at cardinals.com/vacations.
KMOX KECK HD2 St. Louis.
the home of the Cardinals. KMOX, always live on the free Odyssey app.
This is CBS News on the Hour, sponsored by General Steel.
I'm Linda Kenyon in Washington. Closing in on Tuesday's runoff election in Georgia, incumbent Democratic Senator Raphael Warnock speaking to supporters in Atlanta.
The whole world is watching Georgia one more time.
Senator Warnock.
It's on Goddard. Big fly. Nolan Arenado. There's a moment for you.
Driving jam time. The Pelicans win this one. Comeback pattern caught. Touchdown. Kansas City.
Now, sports on a Sunday morning on America's Sports Voice, KMOX.
Welcome back to the show. Tom Ackerman with you. It is Sports on a Sunday morning from the Stifel Sports Studio, and what a treat. This hour we have up until 11:30 an in-studio visit from a great friend. Not his first time on KMOX, by the way. In fact, the last time I did this, one Tony La Russa was listening and was very intrigued. The fact that you and I were talking about one Robert Montgomery Knight, a dear friend of his. This is Ron Zetcher, a member of the St. Louis Sports Hall of Fame, among other halls of fame, one of the greatest referees, one of the greatest officials college basketball has ever seen. He's also a St. Louis native. How are you, Z?
I'm terrific, and I'm really impressed just with the studio, walking in here, and it's great to see you.
Great to see you, Zetch. We go way, way back. How far back? Since I was born. You and my dad were great friends, and you are a dear friend. I'll tell you that first and foremost.
Thank you. Before we start, I will say this. Your dad, Jim Mose, and Bob Barnes, those are three guys that I met when I was in the 7th grade at Hanley Junior High, and they were over at Whiteown. And we had some wonderful times together, and I miss your dad dearly.
I appreciate that. He was a great man, and we lost him way, way too soon, but he is in our hearts, that's for sure. And he's listening to this conversation. That is no doubt. We had some good times. He's the reason I'm in sports. I mean, took me around to all these games, and I got to know and kind of speak the language of coaches and officials and all that good stuff. So it's been an absolute blast. No doubt about it. When it comes to officiating, when it comes to getting a bit of an echo there, Drew. When it comes to officiating, when it comes to everything sports, no doubt, my dad played a big part in that. Ron Zetcher, you played a big part, not only in his life, but in the lives of many in college athletics. As an official, it has been a treat to watch you work, to understand the craft. And I do want to start with this. I've already spoken so highly of you, and I wish that was the case. Before we get into some fun stories about your career, that I wish that was always the case when it came to officials. I feel like, and I understand that in the NBA, let's stick with basketball. In the NBA, in college basketball, it is a tough job. I mean, the crowd is on you. You've heard every word in the book, I'm sure. They all think they know the rules and know which is the correct call. But I'm talking about youth sports in particular. The fact that these officials don't get paid a lot, some of them even volunteer their time to go out and make sure that these games are played fairly. I feel like we are losing them. And it's a profession where we're starting to see less and less, and I wish we could create it back to where it's a job that feels good to do. How do you feel about what you're seeing right now? Do we have a shortage of officials in our game?
Absolutely. I have a grandson right now who's he's a junior varsity basketball player at Parkway West. So I've gone to he's played 3 games this year, and I've been to all 3 of them. In the JV game, they only use 2 officials. They probably need 3 for sure, but they can't get a 3rd official because there's just such a shortage. And I watch the games, and I know enough about officiating to know that at least these guys are doing the best they can. Are they really good? Dave Phillips made a great comment to me years ago. I was complaining about some umpires in one of my older grandson's baseball games. I think he was in the 8th grade. And I was telling Phillips, guy, they don't know the strike zone. And Phillips said to me, Zetch, what time does your grandson play? I said, I don't know, 10 o'clock on a Sunday morning. He said, be thankful you've got some guys who at least show up for that game. And it really, it was an eye-opener. And we do need to treat those people with more respect. And we need to tell our young athletes, listen, if those 2 guys don't show up, guess what? There won't be a game.
That's correct. Young athletes, coaches, and parents, and fans in general. They all play a part in making this a good experience for all, including a good experience for those officials. That's what I would point to also, is that as tempting as it can be, and I would never tell fans what to do except for this, when it comes to youth sports, how much are you paying to go to these games? At most $5. Okay. So I understand that you're paying to get into the building in some cases. Let the coaches coach, let the officials officiate. That's my request.
I agree with you 100%, Tom. And I'll be very honest and very candid. My whole life, I competed as an athlete, I coached, and I officiated. And then all of a sudden, I was not doing any one of those three things. And I was not the best spectator at the beginning because I had no control. When you're a coach, you have control. When you're an official, you definitely have control of the game. And when you're a player, you control the outcome of your ability while you're on the field or on the court or whatever you're doing. And it really was hard for me. And I had a few people who were very close to me tell me, hey, man, you need to just kind of watch the games, sit back and relax. And I've done a lot better. I was very, very I wasn't the best spectator that we're talking about when my oldest grandson started playing high school sports. And I regret it because I don't think I enjoyed his games as much as I should have.
It's interesting. So you were a coach, as you mentioned, after your playing career, and you did play a lot of sports throughout your life and continue to do. You still look like you'd probably get out there and knock down a few jumpers. You coached. In fact, Matt Pauley, our KMOX Sports Open Line host, just to let me know that you were his freshman football coach at Ladue. You went into officiating around that same time. When did you do that and why?
I went to Johnny Mac's sporting goods store one evening, and I had started umpiring some baseball. And I went down to Johnny Mac's sporting goods to buy some umpire equipment. It was probably in maybe January. And while I was there, he said, hey, listen, he said, you were a basketball player. He said, you want to go referee some basketball games? I said, sure, when? He says, tonight. I said, tonight? Yeah, he said, there's a Baptist Church League, and we need a referee down there. So he gave me a shirt, and I think I just kept the pants on that I was wearing, some khakis or whatever. And I went down there. I thought, well, this is going to be a big deal, And these were men, 30, 35-year-old guys, and it's kind of interesting. I laugh about it. I get down there and they look at me like, who's this guy? And I don't even remember who I was refereeing with, some man. And they say a prayer before the game. I mean, it's the most really beautiful religious setting. And then the game starts. And I mean, you talk about hearing every word, and it was an eye opener. And I refereed in that league for about a year and a half. And I'll tell you what I learned. I learned how to try to learn how to control tough men. Guys, they were on me all the time. I was young. They were older men. And after a while, you stand up and you kind of take charge. And that was the beginning of how it started. And I'm thankful to Johnny Mac forever.
Wow. You had to know the rules of the game. You felt confident about that going in. But what do you learn along the way as an official, and how do you advance, I guess, is a better question. How do you get to the level that you got? You got to the highest level of college basketball.
I think it's changed. When I was breaking into officiating, there weren't summer camps. They didn't have referee camps. And so in my case, I found out at a later date what really helped my career. I refereed the Missouri State Large School Championship 3 years in a row. And it's kind of an interesting story, Tom. The first year, every referee that I knew in St. Louis called me and congratulated me and said, this is the greatest thing, Ron. And we're a while. The second year, about half those guys called me. And the third year, they were calling Columbia, asking them, why does the same guy get to referee the state tournament every year? So, there's a lot of competition involved. And after the third year, I got a phone call from Bernie Sagaw, who was he was the Iowa High School Activities Association director, just like Jack Miles here in Missouri. and they were very good friends. And Jack Miles apparently had recommended me to Bernie, and Bernie Sagal called me and offered me a job. And I well, yeah, it was in 1975. I said, man, I'm honored. Well, about a day or two later, a guy named Bud Olson, who was the supervisor of the ABA, he called me and said, we need a guy from your area. You want to join the ABA? So I thought, well, that's professional basketball. That's like the epitome, right? So I called Bernie Sagal back and I told him what had happened. He says, if that's what you want to pursue, go ahead. And if it doesn't work out, just call me. And I thought, well, yeah, we've heard that before. Well, it didn't work out. And I did call him, and God bless Bernie Sagal, he rehired me. And that's how it started.
And you started not only, by the way, did you do basketball, but football and baseball, and the Missouri Valley Conference actually was your first college experience on the baseball side. But in particular, your most success, what you're best known for, is your run in basketball. And in that year, 1975, was your first year in the Big Eight. And that started a 30-year run in the Big Eight. Now, for those who don't go back as far, the Big 12 was the Big Eight, then added some teams. The Big Eight at its heyday was as good a basketball conference as any of them right now. The Big 10, the ACC, the Big East, you name them. That Midwest collection of teams in the Big Eight, whose sold-out arenas, was amazing. And you came in contact with some great ones, including Norm Stewart.
Absolutely. I knew Norm Stewart as a young kid, and he wasn't a whole lot older than me, but he was a freshman baseball coach at Missouri. And that's where I started off my education. I wasn't there very long. I came back to Washington U. But when I was there, Norm was my freshman baseball coach. And he tells a story today. He says, man, he says, you had the greatest arm in the world. He said, but every time you got on the mound during practice, he says, I didn't stand on the field. He said, I got behind the screen. He says, because you had a hard time finding the plate. And that's Norm Stewart. You know, I love the guy. I really do.
What was he like in game situations on that floor at Hearn Center?
When I first started, I'll be very honest, I was intimidated by him because I knew him and I knew how tough a guy he was. And it took me a while to gain his confidence, I think. He was very hard on me. And, it wasn't like he knew me. It wasn't like, oh, well, I know Ron when he was, a young kid down here. He was tough. But Norm Stewart, he was not a loud coach to officials, but sarcastic beyond belief. And he could say things to you that were just unbelievable. And after a while, we started to have a good relationship. And one time, I'll give you a quick story about Norm. I had a Kansas-Missouri game, and in the first half, and I was with two very young guys who had just broke into the Big Eight.
Is this at Hearns or Allen?
No, this is at Hearns.
Okay.
And there was a question about an extra timeout or not enough timeouts the first half, and I went over to the scores table, and I realized that we had been correct. So we should have assessed him a timeout. We didn't. We got in the locker room, and all of a sudden my light bulb went on. I said, Missouri has an extra timeout coming to them. And the two guys said yes. I said, which one of you guys want to go tell Norm? So they both like. I said, okay. So our locker room was right next to Missouri's locker room at the time. They changed that, but at the time you were actually right next to their locker room. So we come out and the girls are still dancing out on the floor and everything else. And Norm's standing there with his team. And I said, Coach, I have something you're not going to like to hear. He says, oh, okay. What now? Real sarcastic. I said, that first half, that was a timeout that we didn't assess you when you questioned timeouts, and we were correct. So we're going to assess you right now. He looked at me and he goes, yeah, okay. That's a junior high rule. And junior high referee right now is going to apply
it. He made sure that you walked away knowing that.
Oh, yes.
But a heck of a coach and a great friend, Norm Stewart. You also remain very close through the years you were with Bob Knight. And I mentioned it from the start that Tony La Russa was glued to our interview. And this was probably 20 plus years ago now, because I was a youngster at KMOX. And part of the reason I became friendly with Tony and why he opened up to me was partly because of this interview that you and I did about his friend Bob Knight. He thought it was important that the truth come out about someone who had a very tough image. People have an image of him throwing a chair and being a bully. Not that he didn't do those two things, but he also was very smart when it came to the game. And how did the two of you get to know each other?
Well, I think the first time that I really had a meeting with Bob Knight is Bob Murray. I don't know if you remember the name Bob Murray. He was he had a good career over at Merrimack as an AD, and he worked for a couple of sporting goods stores. And anyway, Bob Murray used to have these Coach of the Year clinics, and basketball was not one of them. It was always a football and type of thing. So anyway, one day Bob Murray said he's going to start having some basketball clinics, and he's going to need some referees. So I went to Indiana at a referee camp that Bob Murray had started. And that's where I met Bob Knight. And there were a couple things that he was very nice to me. I mean, I was a guest. I guess he looked at me as a guest that I was bringing these referees there and everything else. And he came in and talked to the referees once, and it was awesome what he told these referees. But he took me into the Indiana locker room one day, and he showed me that they have the names of every player above the locker that they had when they were playing for him, and your name doesn't go on that locker unless you've graduated. I don't care who you are. So the second or third year I worked at that camp, I'm walking out, and Knight would have this 300 or 400 high school coaches. And so I walked out and I was listening to him, and this guy walks up to me. I can tell he's an athlete. He says, is Coach Knight near here now? I said, I think he just finished with the coach. I think he went over to the big rec center where all the high school teams are playing. He says, you sure? I said, yeah, why? He said, well, I want to shoot a little in here, but I don't want him to see me. It was Isaiah Thomas.
Wow.
Didn't want to see because he had walked out on Knight, remember?
Mm-hmm.
And didn't graduate. And Knight had promised his mother that he would graduate if he came to Indiana. Well, he finally eventually came back to her, I think, and graduated. But you know what? His name was not up on that locker. And I respected the heck out of Bob Knight for that. Isaiah Thomas might have been one of the greatest players he ever had.
Why, during games, did you have such a good rapport with Coach Knight? I'm not saying that it was perfect. I'm sure there were some moments. But it seemed like he respected you as you worked Big Ten and other conferences.
Well, I listened to him, and I learned that if he had a question, the guy probably knows a little bit about basketball, So he wasn't one of these guys who barked all night. I mean, if he said something to you, and I can tell you a couple incidents that I had with him. He had a preseason tournament every year. And it either had in Indianapolis or he'd have it on his campus. So this was in Indianapolis. And they're just beating the daylights out of TCU. He was good Knight. He would bring his old coaches back so they could make a little money on, how they pay him to come play in those tournaments. And, I don't think he ever lost a game in that 4-team tournament ever. But they're beating TCU something terrible. And he yells at me, he says, and Bob was probably at his worst when he was way ahead. Because he's bored. Okay, he says, that's a travel. So I just ran by him a second time and a third time. Well, finally, I made a mistake. I said, it's not traveling.
Oh, boy.
He looks at me, he says, oh, yeah, you're right. I said, what the hell do I know about basketball? So I was working with a guy named Ron Grissom, and we were rooming together. And the next day was going to be the second day of the tour. So the phone rings in the morning, and Grissom says, this guy, he gives me a name, and I said, it's probably somebody who wants tickets. I said, I don't have any tickets. I don't want to talk. Hang up. Guy calls back in about 10 minutes. Same deal. So anyway, about the third time, like, the guy quit calling. So that night, we worked the first game, Grissom and I, because Knight was good to us. He knew that we had lived in St. Louis, worked the first game. We can get in the car and get home that same night and not have to worry. So after our game, we go into the locker room, and the crew for the second game is there, and there's Phil Bova. I don't know if you remember the name Bova. He was big time. He says to me, come here. I need to talk to you, buddy. And I said, what? He says, come here. He says, you know that guy who was calling you all morning and you wouldn't answer the phone? I said, I don't know who he was. He says, that was Knight's student manager. And he had put together, this is unbelievable, the clips of all the travels you missed the night before, and he wanted you to see them. Oh, yeah, you can't make it up.
Yeah. Just meticulous, no doubt about it. As prepared a coach as ever. Before we go, we talked about Coach Stewart, Coach Knight. Give me another coach that stands in your mind that was influential or meaningful to you.
Nolan Richardson. You want to talk about an intimidating guy? There you are.
Wow.
And I first met him when he brought that junior college team, almost his entire starting lineup. They had won the National Junior College Championship, and Tulsa hired Nolan, and Nolan came to Tulsa with this team, and they were unbelievable. And we had a really, really just brutal semifinal game. I think it was his second year there or third year, and he really did. He got the bad end of a official score assessing his team an extra timeout, and there's no way we could change it. I mean, I knew, but there was nothing I could do because the official score, that's it. So he was so angry with me. I mean, he thought I should have changed it, and he called me names, chased me off the floor. And then I had the first game of Tulsa and Wichita the next year, and he was waiting for me. And I knew it. And the game started, and he started on me, and I teed him. And at halftime, we were walking off the floor, and he's running after me. And I was working with Bob Dibler. And Dibler played with Nolan when they played for Haskins, on that UTEP team. So he's telling Dibler how horrible I am and everything else. And I won't tell you what he said. I had a little curly perm at the time. And I'm not going to tell you what he told me that perm looked like, but you can just use your imagination. And that's what he said. And after that, we had a great relationship. And when he got hired into the Southwest Conference at Arkansas, all of a sudden I got a phone call from Paul Galvan, who was a supervisor, asking me if I wanted to work in that league. And I thought, what do you want me in this league for? He says, Nolan Richardson's the only team that's not a Texas team, and he wants somebody who's not from Texas.
Wow. That legendary Nolan Richardson, a national champion at Arkansas. We're talking to a legendary official. That is Ron Zetcher, a Hall of Famer. He's in the Greater St. Louis Amateur Baseball Hall of Fame, the St. Louis Jewish Sports Hall of Fame, the Missouri Sports Hall of Fame, the St. Louis Sports Hall of Fame. And thank you for coming back to KMOX. It's great to catch up with you, Zetch.
It's great catching up with you, and also revisiting your pop. He's great.
Thank you so much. That would be Bill Ackerman. We miss him dearly. We have a lot to catch up on in our last half hour. It's Sports on a Sunday Morning from the Stiefel Sports Studio. We'll tell you who's in the college football playoff next.
All right. Funny story today. What happened at the office? I was trying to shred. It didn't do it. There was no noise. It wasn't doing anything. And Michelle, who is works in the office, she is truly a great employee. She goes, oh, yeah, but sometimes if you shake it, she got up, she walked over and she shook it. She goes, now try it. And I put the document in and it worked. And she goes, see, there, fixed. That's the reason she's in the office and she's not one of my techs. That is true. So today, Wednesday, I'm going to make this month, every Wednesday, it's going to be Michelle Day. Keep up the good work. Now, if you do need something fixed, it will not be Michelle that will be coming out. It'll be me and one of my great techs. So call me, Bart Inman. One easy number in Missouri and Illinois. just as one number and one name, 314-293-2600 or bartinman.com.
Like a personal shopper, Health Markets can help find a Medicare Advantage plan that's right for you. Enrollment ends December 7th. Visit shop.healthmarkets.com. Health Markets Insurance Agency, Inc. is licensed as an insurance agency in all 50 states and D.C. Not all agents are licensed to sell all products. Service and product availability varies by state. Sales agents may be compensated based on a consumer's enrollment in a health plan. No obligation to enroll. We do not offer every plan available in your area. Any information we provide is limited to those plans we do offer in your area. Please contact Medicare.gov or 1-800-MEDICARE to get information on all your options.
So delicious in every bite. Dad's cookies, they taste so right.
Dad's cookies go mighty fast this time of year, so stock up next time you're shopping. And for an easy and unique gift for out-of-town family and friends, give them the sweet taste of a St. Louis tradition by ordering at dadscookies.com.
The taste made just for you.
And in stores everywhere.
Dad's Cookies.
dadscookies.com.
McKnight Place Assisted Living and Memory Care. Locally owned and operated for over 30 years. Features luxury accommodations and exceptional service. At McKnight Place, residents enjoy spacious apartments, walking paths through lush gardens, fine dining, engaging activities, and more. As a trusted expert in senior living, they are there for you and your family. Questions? Concerns? Call McKnight Place at 314-993-3333 or visit McKnightPlace.com.
KMOX Weekend at your service, sponsored by Air Comfort Service Heating and Cooling.
Beat the holiday rush and get the DGS special, 3 rooms, 0 resified, starting at just $119. You can also get $50 off your air duct cleaning when you call 314-474-2020 or book online at zeroresstl.com.
Whether you're looking to fill low spots in your lawn, backfill that new retaining wall, or mulch your trees and flower beds, St. Louis Composting has the compost, soil, or mulch you need to help your plants and garden look its very best. Visit our website, stlcompost.com, for more information.
For a limited time, you can equip your home with a radically efficient furnace and AC combo from Jerry Kelly for just $187 a month with approved credit. And if all or part of your system is more than a few years old, replacing it will result in immediate and ongoing cash savings. How much exactly? Who knows? But it's certain to amount to a significant portion. Saving big right now at
JerryKelly.com. If you own a business, this has been a bumpy ride from pandemic to inflation. I'm sure you could use a break. Amy Mark Scores here with Innovation Refunds. If your business has 5 or more employees and managed to survive COVID, you could be eligible to receive a payroll tax rebate of up to $26,000 per employee. Now, this isn't a loan. There's no payback. It's a refund of your taxes. The challenge is getting your hands on it. That's how Innovation Refunds can help. The team of tax attorneys they have put together are highly trained in this little-known payroll tax refund program and have already returned $1 billion to businesses. And they can help you too. They do all the work with no charge up front and simply share a percentage of the cash that they get for you. Businesses of all types can qualify, including those who took PPP, nonprofits, and even those that had an increase in sales. Go to getrefunds.com. GetRefunds.com.
When it comes to your health, you want the best care possible, right? Well, when it comes to your eyes, you'll find that at Ophthalmology Associates. From glasses, LASIK, or cataract surgery, and anything related to eye care, Doctors Greg Birdie, Ranjan Malhotra, Robert Brusati, and Andrew Royer are the best. Dry eye is a concern for a lot of people, and Ophthalmology Associates is a leader in dry eye diagnosis and treatment. They can help you understand your condition and treat it with the absolute newest, most innovative approach. Find out more at yourEyeDoc.com. Hate wearing glasses and contacts? Are you considering LASIK surgery? You need to call the doctors at Ophthalmology Associates. Are cataracts a problem? Their doctors use the most advanced multifocal lens to minimize the need for glasses after surgery. This is Rick Wallace, and for 17 years, they've been my eye doctors. Why don't you call them today? 314-966-5000, 314-966-5000, or online, yourEyeDoc.com. Ophthalmology Associates, a half mile west of 270 at 12990 Manchester Road.
A Prairie Home Companion comes to the Fabulous Fox for Christmas, December the 15th. Heather Massey, Maria Jetty singing Christmas songs you don't hear anymore, and the whole audience singing Silent Night. Our acting company will be doing Guy Noir, The Lives of the Cowboys, and of course, the news from Lake Wobegon. The Fabulous Fox, December the 15th. Hope to see you there.
Don't miss this incredible night celebrating the season with a Prairie Home Companion Christmas show at the Fabulous Fox, December 15th. Tickets on sale now at metrotix.com.
Yeah, I was just at a convention with for one of the major manufacturers, and they were showing all the new products, and we were discussing all the new regulations that are starting in January. With that being said, there are new changes coming up next year. But if you want to get ahead of the curve and you think you're going to replace it, but you don't want to replace the system now, here's what I'm willing to do. I can buy all the equipment if you want to buy it now and put it in at a later date. I have a feeling it's going to save you 20%, 30%, which is huge on a furnace and air conditioner. If your system is 15, 20 years or older and you know you're going to do it, probably not time to be putting it off. I mean, we have 0% financing for up to 60 months if you qualify. I can help you out. Call me, Bart Inman. One easy number in Missouri and Illinois, 314-293-2600. Just this one name, Bart Inman. That's Bart with a B, Inman with an I.
This season, give the gift of Cardinals ticket packs. 5, 6, and 10 game packs are on sale now and feature 2023's highest demand games and promotional giveaways. Choose from the opening day pack, the t-shirt pack, bobblehead pack, and more. New for 2023, check out the swag pack. Give the gift that lasts all season, all baseball season. Cardinals ticket packs start at just $54 and are on sale now at cardinals.com/holiday.
This holiday season, check off your shopping list with Cardinals Baseball 2023. All-inclusive tickets start at just $59 and feature a full buffet, complimentary bar, plus a great view of the game. Choose from the Premium Legends Club, the UMB Champions Club, Proficient Red Jacket Club, National Car Rental Club. Give the gift of date nights, the gift of family time, the gift of Cardinals Baseball. Get your single game all-inclusive tickets now at cardinals.com/holiday.
Whether you're looking to fill low spots in your lawn, backfill that new retaining wall, or mulch your trees and flower beds, St. Louis Composting has the compost, soil, or mulch you need to help your plants and garden look its very best. Visit our website, stlcompost.com, for more information.
It's on Goddard.
Big fly, Nolan Arenado.
Driving jam time. And the Billikens win this one. Touchdown, Kansas City.
Welcome back to Sports on a Sunday morning on America's Sports Voice.
From the Stifel Sports Studio, Tom Ackerman with you. Extended conversation there with Ron Zetcher. Appreciate you hanging on through the break. Great to catch up with the Hall of Fame official. It is official. The college football playoff rankings are in, and just as we predicted, number 1 is Georgia, number 2 is Michigan, number 3 is TCU, and number 4 is Ohio State. There's your top 4 going into the college football playoff. The first of 2 games will be 1 against 4. That will be the Peach Bowl in Atlanta, and it'll be Georgia playing right at home, taking on Ohio State. I would not count out Ohio State packing fans into that building. I maintain that the number 1 traveling fan base in all of college football is Ohio State. Number 2 might surprise you. I still think it's Nebraska. They can fit people into pretty much anywhere. If they could ever get it back, they'd be great. But anyway, they now have Matt Rule as their coach. It's pretty good. But anyway, Ohio State is back in, and their fans have to be thrilled. Now, they'll be taking on Georgia, which will be a sizable favorite. Not overwhelmingly so, but should win that football game. Ohio State will be ready to go. Michigan and TCU will play in the Fiesta Bowl in Glendale, Arizona later that day. The college football playoff with the national championship at SoFi Stadium in Los Angeles on January 9th, a Monday night. There you go. 1 Georgia, 2 Michigan, 3 TCU, 4 Ohio State. Time for our NFL picks. We do it every Sunday. We give you the top 2 games to keep an eye on, and I always make sure they are games that everybody can see here locally. The first one would be one that I hope you also listen to, and that is Kansas City at Cincinnati. It's a 3:25 kickoff on KMOX. If you want to watch it, it's on CBS. Chiefs are a 2.5-point favorite, and I'm taking them. Chiefs minus 2.5. Take it to the bank. Chiefs are going to go to Cincinnati and win that game. They are playing well. They just came off a good win It was not an offensive show off by any chance. I thought that the Rams actually played some pretty good defense on them, but the Chiefs won the game 26-10. I say they open it up a little bit more at Cincinnati today and cover that 2.5-point spread. Bengals are playing well right now, but they're a team that can give up points. I mean, they gave up 32 to Cleveland. They gave up 30 to Pittsburgh. I mean, I can't see them slowing down Kansas City necessarily. I like the Chiefs covering 2.5 on the road. I don't see how they won't do that. Meanwhile, your other game, I'm going to say the night game tonight, Indianapolis at Dallas, and the Cowboys at 10.5. I hate that half point. 10.5-point favorite at home against the Colts. I got to go Dallas here. I mean, their pass rush, their defense, they're playing really, really well right now. I mean, they're coming off back-to-back wins against the Vikings and the Giants and looked pretty good doing it. I like them winning this game by more than 10.5. I'll take them as well, the favorite, minus 10.5 against the Colts. Quick timeout. We'll come back with more on KMOX right after this.
Driven by the Bommarito Automotive Group, the voice of St. Louis, KMOX.
If your business has 5 or more employees and managed to survive COVID, you could be eligible to receive a payroll tax rebate of up to $26,000 per employee. I'm Amy Mark Scores for Innovation Refunds. Now, this isn't a loan. There's no payback. It's a refund of your taxes. And if you're wondering, how do I get through the red tape and get my business the refund money? Go to getrefunds.com. The team of tax attorneys they've put together are highly trained in this little-known payroll tax refund program and have already returned $1 billion to businesses, and they can help you too. Businesses of all types can qualify, including those who took PPP, nonprofits, and even those that had an increase in sales. To find out if your business qualifies, just go to getrefunds.com, click on the Qualify Me, and answer a few questions. Don't miss out. Go to getrefunds.com, getrefunds.com.
Hey guys, Glover here, and I see clearly thanks to Doctors Bertie and Malhotra, and you can too. Go to youridoc.com today or call 314-966-5000.
Be a part of St. Louis's newest holiday tradition at the Red. Journey into the magical wonderland of the timeless classic, A Christmas Carol. Performances November 18th through December 30th. Tickets on sale at redstl.org.
It's on Goddard. Big fly. Nolan Arenado. Driving jam time. And the Billikens win this one. Touchdown, Kansas City.
Welcome back to Sports on a Sunday morning on America's Sports Voice, KMOX.
Welcome back to the show. It is 11:43 from the Stifel Sports Studio. This is Sports on a Sunday morning. Our Blues breakdown now. The Blues lose it. Final score 6-2 at Pittsburgh. And Craig Berube, their head coach, was not very pleased, to say the least. Asking the questions here, Post-Dispatch beat writer Jim Thomas. Yeah, we'll try to get to that here in just a second. I'll get right back to it. Craig Berube and the Blues, with that loss yesterday, they fall to 11-13 on the season. And we'll see if we can get this audio to play. Might not be able to. Well, you know what? Let's do this. And it's not going to play out of this computer. Has decided. So I'll give you the basics. He said that the penalty kill is horse bleep. He said that a couple of times, so that's something that we can't play on KMOX anyway. He also said that this team, if they don't start playing and buying in as a group, it's not going to change. I repeat, if they're not going to play as a team and continue to compete consistently, things are not going to change. That is a bit disturbing. It has been a tough way to go for Craig Berube, but he said we need a lot more guys to step up and play better, help the team win. We don't have enough guys right now. Everybody has to step up. He said right now we're not good. We don't have enough people going in the right direction in all areas of the game, all of them, everybody. It's not good enough. And until more guys step up and play better and we start pulling together as a team, it won't change. This is alarming, to say the least. Now, the other thing is that Jordan Bennington went a little haywire in this game. He punched a player as he was coming around the back of the net. He chirped at the Penguins bench as he was pulled from the game. They also didn't have Jordan Kyrou because of an illness. He was out, but that's no excuse. The Blues need to be better than this. And according to Berube, Bennington just needs to stop pucks. It doesn't help any when he goes out of his way to complain or to get emotional towards the other team, take shots, whatever it is. The only shots he needs to worry about, and this is coming from me here, not Berube, the only shots he needs to worry about are the ones coming off the opponent's sticks. He allowed 4 goals on 17 shots and was pulled. Be better. Not only Bennington, who is one of the leaders of this team and perhaps the face of the franchise, but the rest of the team. This was not a good effort by the Blues by any stretch. They are better than this, I think. I mean, maybe they're not, but they should be. They've lost now 5 of 6 and 3 in a row. They lose it at Pittsburgh 6-2. That was pretty bad. Here's something that is good, and that is the St. Louis Rowing Club. And to discuss that with us are 3 members of that club, all joining us on the phone right now. Grant Scooby is with SLU High. Josh Yin is with Ladue Horton Watkins High School. And their coxswain is Nate Lee from MICDS. They are all with us on the phone. The St. Louis Rowing Club. Gentlemen, good morning. How are you?
Great. How are you doing?
Doing great. I also want to mention a great friend, and that would be Trip Jones, who is a good member of that group. There are others too, James Polanka and Drew Jones, a great supporter. All the Joneses, the Polankas have helped set this up, and we thank them very much for it on Sports on a Sunday Morning. But the St. Louis Rowing Club, and Grant, I want to start with you and ask you, as a captain, how proud you are of this team and what they've accomplished.
Yeah, it's really great what we've been doing this year, especially and last year was our first time we'd ever won the Midwest Championships in rowing in the past 25 years. And so we won both the first 8 event, which is an 8-person boat, and the first 4 for the first time ever. So it was really great.
Josh, what does it take to be on this team and to accomplish what you've been able to do?
Yeah, I mean, it takes a lot. It's definitely like a time commitment. We come out every single day, but we have 40 guys out every single day, training hard and doing their best. And I think that rowing teaches you these great qualities, like hardworking, like ownership of your actions, perseverance, all that. Yeah, perseverance, and it's just a great sport, and it's just a great experience.
I appreciate that. This again is Grant Scooby, Josh Yin. They are the captains of the St. Louis Rowing Club, and their coxswain is Nate Lee. And Nate, coxswain is like a director in a way. You are the one who is helping them along. You're also steering the boat, aren't you?
Right. That's something that people get confused a lot about. That like, oh, what do you tell your rowers? It's really complicated. You're kind of like an orchestra conductor where you're leading them through the race. You're telling them their race plan, you're being the eyes and ears of the boat. And really, you're the one that makes the decisions for how you're going to race and how to execute your race.
You know, it's really amazing, Grant, the amount of travel that you all put in as well. I mean, you know, we all know there are only limited places here in St. Louis to do what you do, but you do that well. I want to circle back to that in just a bit, but tell us about some of your travels, if you would.
Yeah, so there really isn't a club anywhere near us. So the closest place that we go to is Indianapolis. And the places we go to are Cincinnati, Columbus, Oklahoma City, Chicago Sprints over the summer, which is right in Lincoln Park, which is really awesome. And then for nationals in the spring, we go to Sarasota, Florida, at this beautiful facility that they built for rowing.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, Josh, what are those trips like? I mean, obviously a great bonding experience, which is probably necessary. If there's any sport where a group needs to bond, it's rowing.
Oh yeah, for sure. The trips are a lot of fun. We load onto like a big travel bus. You know, we like get this nice travel bus. We load on there, and then we room together. And usually it's really easy on the parents, especially because the parents don't actually have to go to all the regattas with the rowers. Like we take care of everything. There's a lot of safety. Like we do room checks. and it's like really well run.
Yeah, I think that's important to note as we are talking to three very well-spoken high school students here. And Nate, I think it's important probably for life. I mean, you'll learn this later in life, how important this experience was, that uh, a lot like life, if you want to succeed in business, a team is necessary.
Yeah, I mean, especially like in rowing, it's pretty much the ultimate team sport. Like your timing has to be within milliseconds of each other, and it really teaches you to trust the people around you, and they have to trust you back. So collaboration is really important. That also translates to other places like school. Like rowing has like a bunch of things like determination, perseverance, resilience, and accountability. It all translates to other parts of life, like you mentioned, especially in school too, where even though it's a large time commitment towards rowing, we're allowed to use these values that we learn during practice to help us, like especially in our school, to like let us get good grades.
This is Nate Lee, MICDS, Josh Yin of Ladue, and Grant Scooby of SLU, members of the St. Louis Rowing Club. Grant, you're one of the captains along with Josh. Nate is the coxswain. And Grant, I'll ask you, where do you practice? How can people see what you do?
Yeah, it's really awesome because it's really accessible to everyone because we're out at Creve Coeur Lake, and it's within a good short little drive from any area in St. Louis. So really anyone can come out and try out. We have tryouts this winter for people that want to start out on the rowing machines with us. And then there's also it's December 10th at 12:30 Saturday. That's the tryout. And then there's tryouts in the spring and tryouts in the fall for new rowers as well.
It sounds like that could be rather cold.
Definitely.
Do you prefer, how much does weather, staying with you, Grant, how much does weather affect what you do?
Yeah, so for us, we have the winter, obviously, which kind of keeps us limited to what we can do because the lake can freeze over. So a lot of our winter practice is spent inside on the rowing machines. And whereas, some teams in like Florida and California, they can row all year round, but we get to really take advantage of the winter season to get stronger and to get better endurance.
Josh, that's interesting. What about age range, Josh? How young can you be? What ages are you seeing coming out and rowing?
Yeah, so typically guys start from 13 to 16, so between 8th grade and sophomore year. I started as a 12-year-old, which is a bit younger than normal. But I've been doing this for 6 years, and it's just been a great experience.
Wow, that's great. Nate, how does one become a coxswain? Now, again, you're like in charge of navigation, whereas the others are providing power. How do you decide that?
Yeah, so coxswains are usually on the smaller side. I remember initially I started rowing. I used to play soccer before I got pushed around a lot. And I was like, my mom was like, hey, you're kind of intelligent and you're small. You'd be a good coxswain. So, I tried out and I fell in love with the sport immediately. I mean, I think that's how most of us get hooked on it. It's really addictive. So yeah, just tryouts. During tryouts, you just see where you fit. You try everything out and just see what you want to do.
What about, you look at, by the way, our former executive producer, Ben Boyd, was an outstanding member of the Boston University rowing team and actually received financial aid for going. And you got to think about college, don't you? I want to stay with our coxswain. That would be Nate. You think about, the possibility of doing this at another level. Do you?
Yeah. So rowing's like a really big thing that can help you get into college. We've got on both the boys and girls team, we've got multiple D1 commits. So Josh, I'm committed to Princeton University. I'm currently committed to Yale University. And then on the girls team, there's one girl going to UNC, one going to Dartmouth, Ohio State, Wisconsin, and then a few others.
Listen to this coming out of St. Louis. Now, this is education for a lot of people who think about moving forward in sports. What a great opportunity. Grant, I think that's a good point to bring up, is that the women are also competing in this.
Yeah, exactly. And they're almost just as competitive as us. We both do really well nationally. Both of us sent boats to nationals in Florida last year. And even the girls team usually has more rowers than the guys team does. So it's very popular for girls.
Let them know. St. Louis Rowing Club is making waves, shall we say, here in this country when it comes to rowing and competition. The closest they can get to is Indianapolis because we have limited places where you can do that, but they do practice at Creve Coeur Lake. Finally, Josh, I'll turn to you for this. How can people help? What can they do to make you even more successful?
I think the biggest thing is just getting guys and girls who are between the ages of 13 and 16 to come down and just try it out. Regardless of if you're playing another sport, we have a lot of people who play sports, like they play other sports in the winter or in the fall, and they'll row for 2 other seasons, and it typically makes them a lot better. And by the way, no one who starts rowing in St. Louis has any experience. So we all started from zero, and we teach you completely how to row. Tryouts are completely free, and it's great things to come down. So if you have like a child or who's between the ages of 13 and 16 or a grandchild, it's great to just get them out, get them moving, and have some fun.
Well, this has been great. And by the way, we didn't even mention it, but it is an outstanding workout. I'm sore just thinking about it. Grant Scooby of SLU, Josh Yin of Ladue, Nate Lee of MICDS, St. Louis Rowing Club on Sports on a Sunday Morning on KMOX. Thank you very much for being with us.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks so much. From the Stiefel Sports Studio, what a show. I mean, we didn't touch every sport, but we came pretty close, Drew. Back after the news with Scott Jagow on KMOX.
Take charge of the years ahead with a smart, sound investment strategy and business succession plan. UC Bank's business and wealth management experts help you envision your best future with powerful insights and proven strategies. UC Bank, building business, growing wealth since 1868. Member FDIC.
If you own a house in St. Louis and you want to sell it as is, without any inspections or the need to make any repairs, call Chris Buys Home St. Louis at 314-328-8000 or at chrisbuysHomestLouis.com and get your